Good morning. So it's been a little while since I've given you an update on this anti-porn organization that I'm building. Here we go. So I guess just as like a brief overview, kind of recap the goal. My purpose in life is to build an anti-porn organization where we can give the information so people can make an educated decision about wanting to consume porn, hopefully on the front end. The goal is to get to young guys. You got to get to them. The studies are showing that kids are starting to consume porn on average by 10 years old. So that's what's the tough part is getting to kids before 10 years old. The logistics are kind of a nightmare. You can imagine that people with certain political views or certain, I don't know if you'd say political, I guess in this, it's lifestyle views or whatever, that are very, anti-regulation on sexual freedoms and that sort of thing. So that's where the opposition is, and it's a bit intimidating. That side of the spectrum is historically a little more loud than the side of the fence that I'm on. So, yep, obstacles, but everything is going to face opposition. So, building this up, the goal eventually, I want to have a gym. I want a gym, a place where guys, women, it's everything. So I talk about the behemoth a lot, the behemoth from Job 40, the Leviathan in Job 41. I talk about guys mostly. For whatever reason, I guess I assume that mostly it's men that are consuming porn and that are probably addicted. I know there are women involved too, and women in general just need to be educated about sexual purity. So that's a big part of it. Don't think when I say guys, I mean that's obviously just where my passion comes from, but it's women too. It's everybody. So the behemoth is what represents the ideal man of God, and then Leviathan. In my mind, these are my interpretations, and I know that that's not the original meaning, obviously. But anyway, the behemoth and the Leviathan. The behemoth is the ideal man of God. The Leviathan being the ideal woman of God. And learning how to be the ideal beast that God has created us to be mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, everything, all aspects go into it. So educating young people on what that means so that they are armed with the weapons they need to go into battle against these things they're tempted with throughout the rest of their lives. In my mind, it starts with a gym. I mean, that doesn't start with the gym. But where it starts is where I just have started making tracks. Where it starts is starting to talk to young men. I have a couple of friends. I'll call them friends. They're a lot younger than me. They're in high school right now. They go to the academy. It's a boarding school that I went to when I was in high school. I wasn't a boarding student. I lived here, but there were lots of boarding students that were really good friends of mine. And so I got to know the dorm. I mean, I know how it works. But they have like this worship every night. And so one of my ideas was, hey, can I get to talk to these guys like in worship? I feel like anti-porn, sexual purity in general is a good topic for high school age guys. So I've been planning on, I've been emailing the dean saying, hey, how can we get together? He understandably and smart for him to do this, but he wanted to talk to me first, and that was great. Like I was like, yes, that's smart. We need to talk. You need to see what I'm all about before you just say, yeah, sure, come talk to all these guys that I'm responsible for. But I talked to him just over the weekend, and it was good. He's pretty passionate about some of the same things that I'm passionate about. He saw my level of passion. And he said, man, he's like, I'd love for you to come do some worships. He said, but where I really see the potential is that apparently every year they have a purity week, a whole week where every worship, I guess, is dedicated to talking about purity, porn, sex in general, everything. And so, he said he's got his story and he told it this year at their purity week, and he's pretty passionate about it. But he said, I'll get bored. I'll get tired of telling my story every year. So he's like, I'd like to mix it up and have other perspectives and other people come in and talk. And the guys are going to get tired because it's, 3 years worth of guys that are going to hear the same thing every time if you have the same message. So he said, if we mix it up, and then every 4 years I can give my talk or whatever. So I was like, man, that's awesome. Like it's awesome that there is a purity week. I hope it's better than the one that I had. There was a purity week when I was there, and I've said this before. It was awful. You could just tell it wasn't the guy's passion. He came and talked to all of us. It just wasn't his passion. It was his wife's passion. The women, they had a meeting, separate. They were in a different auditorium, and they all loved it. They were life-changing decisions being made and just big things going on in their meeting. You could tell it was her passion, not his. He was not ready to face the opposition that are, high school guys and the type of, sexual impurity, I guess, that's going on right now. And it's just so accessible and it's normal to them. And they like it way too much to just easily let you come in and down it, I guess. And your brain does that automatically. That's, the bias that we have to keep believing the same thing that we believe, and when somebody comes with different information, your brain automatically like shuts it off until you've heard it a bunch of times, until they can start convincing you over the long term. So anyway, I understand that. It's my passion and I'm ready to break through those walls. So that was really cool. That was something that he presented to me. So that's an opportunity for you to come do Purity Week next year. I still kind of want to get in there and, even just do a worship, kind of tell my story. I think there's still some value in that. He sees value, obviously, because we can't fit it all into one worship, like one 15-minute talk. And I was like, yeah, you're definitely right. But I still want to start now. I'm itching to get started on something. But that's where it starts. Educating these young guys, trying to figure out a way at the elementary school. I don't know what that looks like. Kids that young, you probably have to get parents on board, because if a kid comes home and says, hey, today we learned about porn, and parents are going to be like, what? And that, understandably so. So there's going to be, like an announcement and maybe something sent home and something signed. I don't know, but you got to get to them earlier. Like I said, 10 years old. I'm not going to talk to 10-year-olds. But I don't know. I know that when I was in elementary school, it was about 5th or 6th grade, when they tell you all about puberty and all that stuff. You have like the sex talk and what is sex and how does this work and blah, 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 blah. But where I went to school, it also was pretty terrible. It was mostly just about puberty, and that was it. It was like, hey, this is what happens during puberty to you guys. This is what you should have a heads up on. That's going to happen to you. This is what happens to women. So heads up. Don't mention it. It's awkward. Blah, blah, blah. And like, definitely steered away from the topic of sex. And you get the feeling that the church in general wants to stay away from the topic of sex or porn because they feel like they're giving kids ideas. Not giving kids ideas. There's nothing you're going to say that they haven't already heard or that they're going to hear. So they need to hear it from the right outlet instead of hearing it from their friends and hearing the total, like, the wrong information. So anyway, that's the progress, I guess, is that I've talked to him and he knows and he's on board and wants to get it signed, scheduled, that we'll do, this Purity Week thing. Start talking to young guys. That's the goal. So that's what I'm gonna start doing. Start talking to young guys. So now I'm kind of just compiling information. I'm consuming stuff. I'm learning as much as I possibly can. To be armed as good as I possibly can against any kind of opposition to the anti-porn conversation. So that's where we're at. So pray for me. Anyway, I'm documenting this along the way just because it's gonna be something impactful for sure, something big. So I hope you have a great day today, and I will talk to you tomorrow.